Really?
Let's see. We will see other people. Ladies and gentlemen, what a big honor today. Another session of Virtual Happy Hour 3.5, which is a spin-off of Virtual Happy Hour 3.0. After our initial conversation about Germany from an Indian perspective, today we have USA versus Colombia. And the star on stage is Maria from Colombia, currently living in Miami, USA. So we are all very eager to learn from her. What is the difference between both countries? So Maria, now please amaze us. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Daniel. Let me start by saying that I've been living in the US since 2008. I consider this country my second country now, so my country of adoption. So what I'm going to talk about is my perspective on the country, the differences that I found when I arrived, and it's my personal perspective. As we say in Colombia, everybody talks about the experience according to how it was in the party, right? That's a really bad translation, but this is exactly what we say. So it's my unique perspective. So let me start by sharing my slides. 1 second. I prepare some slides. I would like this to be more a conversation. So please welcome to interrupt me, ask questions, and we go from there.
And we are very well known for mean questions, so that's our goal.
The meanest.
Okay, so a Colombian in the United States. So first, I gather some facts and figures just to situate ourselves. Let me start by. Oh, what's happening here? I have a technical issue. Is it changing? Okay, so some facts and figures so we understand the differences that both countries have. So the US is 9 times bigger than Colombia. You see to the right hand of the slide, you see the map of Colombia, overlapped or like flying, hovering on top of the US. So this is how you see the contrast of the size of the area of the countries. The US has 6 times the population of Colombia, but Colombia is more densely populated. Majority of the population in Colombia is in the big cities, Cartagena, Medellin, Bogota, and Cali, while in the US, I think it's more spread across the territory. 80% of the population in Colombia is what we call white mestizo. So it's a mix. This is exactly the definition of the word. White mestizo is white descendants from the Spanish people that conquered us with the different races that we had.
Hi, Daniel.
Hello.
Hi, Ricardo. Yes, you can learn something about Colombia today.
My friend, I'm almost, you got me in a wrong time. Can I call you back? I'm entering a doctor's appointment right now.
It's okay, Ricardo. It's okay. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Well, in the US, 76% of the population is predominantly white. So yes, we are more mixed. Both countries are mostly Christian, but Colombia is predominantly Catholic, while the US is mainly Protestant. This, was remarkable for me from the perspective of the different traditions and how they, celebrate the holidays. The US GDP per capita is 4 times the Colombian, and this is comparing apples to apples. So yes, there's more accessibility to goods and more better quality of life in the US than in Colombia.
But it's interesting because they are 9 times bigger, but the GDP is only 4 times bigger.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It looks like Colombia has a higher efficiency then.
Okay, I see your perspective. It's a higher efficiency, but still, it's quite a gap, Daniel, for a country so rich in resources. But yeah, I see your perspective. when you compare the area with the GDP. Yeah.
And okay, maybe we come to this topic later on. Maybe some of the goods which are very famous for Colombia are not counting to the GDP calculation. If you
Daniel,
understand what I mean.
That's something I wanted to say. I wanted to stay out of politics and other famous topics that we have in Colombia.
Activities.
Yeah, I don't know who is listening to this conversation, and those are like very hot topics for us. So I will stay out of it. Yeah.
And there are very famous Netflix series. I like it very much.
That's correct too. Like, what about the climate? We do not have seasons. We have a tropical climate. We are right above the equator. This means we have the same weather almost all the year, and the differences are more depending on altitude, not like here in the US. So when we say in Colombia, literal translation is making a lot of winter, this is what my mom would say. It means it's rainy and cold. And it's making a lot of summer. It's just very hot and dry, and this could happen any time of the year. We don't have snow. We do have some high peaks that have snow, but we really do not have the changes that the US has.
And Washington is a district of Colombia. That's the name, so must be something in common, huh? District of Colombia, I believe. Washington, D.C.
Oh, yeah. Well, Columbus is the one that conquered us all. So the name of Colombia is in honor of him, and probably the District of Columbia the same. There's just a little difference in the spelling, which we're very sensitive about. We are called Colombia with an O. And, well, Colombia is with an U. But, yeah.
So I'm glad that John, who is a real US guy, joined meanwhile. And we also have Anuja, who presented Germany from an Indian perspective.
Okay, perfect.
Hello,
welcome.
Daniel.
Hello, Daniel and Jamilio.
Hello. So I was just presenting some facts and figures so we understand a little bit the differences between Colombia and the US. And later on, I will just talk about my experience, because I think each one has, like, if you ask every Colombian living in the US, every Colombian is going to tell you a different story according to their personal experience. So I can only share mine, and this is what I'm going to do. But facts and figures are universal. No discussion about it. And this is just going to give you a glimpse of the relationship between the two countries and the effect that this relationship might have in our lives. So I just went through the area of the country, the population, the race or the ethnicity of both countries, the religious differences, and the GDP per capita and the climate. I'm going to continue with just so you guys have an idea of the bilateral economic relations that we have. We have a two-way goods trade, and in last year, not COVID, pre-COVID, the volume of this trade, legal trade, Daniel, $29 million US in goods and 12 million in services. For the ones that just joined, I'm going to stay out of politics and other issues that my country might be known for. So what are the three main things that we export to the US? Crude, so oil, but crude, not refined. We have flowers, roses mainly, and coffee. And what is the US sending us? Corn, refined oil, and electric or electronic devices and parts. Okay. Then this is a super popular saying in Colombia, just for you to understand. Everybody in Colombia has a family member, a friend from school that lives in the US. This is still for us the country where we can get our dreams come true. The US is the second most popular destination for Colombian migrants after Venezuela. I mean, the immigration to Venezuela has changed in the last 10 years for obvious reasons. But of course, it was easy for a lot of Colombians going to Venezuela because of the proximity and the language. So the first Colombian community that arrived in the US was formed in New York after the First War. And it was mainly a student community. Oh, there is a typo here, but what I want to say is in the 80s and 90s, there was a surge in the number of Colombians, of course, relocating to the US due to the well-known social and political turmoil of our country. And I think it continues like that. So right now, according to the census of 2017, we have 1.2 million of Colombians living in the US. They're mainly located in South Florida and New York. Those are the two places where we have the biggest Colombian communities. What do we find here? Why do we come here? Is really because for us, it's a country where we can make our dreams come true. We have the perception, and this was like when I was preparing for this, presentation, I asked all my friends that live in Colombia. I have a couple of friends from university and school and family members. I asked all of them, what was your reason and why do you think this country has such an influence in us? And they all answered the same, regardless of their opinion in the different, cultural nuances. They all answer the same. Like, we here can make our dreams come true in terms of education, work, quality of life, and helping our family members in Colombia. Also living a more, comfortable and safe life. That's also one of the things we value the most. So yeah, when we arrive here, the first thing what happens is we think we know English, right? But we know, and we might know academic English, but we're totally lost in translation because we Colombians use a lot of slang to communicate, to convey our ideas, our mood, our opinions. So that was one of my first impressions. I thought I was okay with my English till I had to communicate in a day-to-day life with people from university or work. So I just have here some examples of typical phrases that we use in Colombia that, of course, have absolutely no meaning for you guys, and we struggle with when we need to, use them. So one of them is "for if the flies." We say in Colombia, "por si las moscas." This means just in case.
And let's make a cow. That's interesting also for Anuj,
yes,
because Indian cows are very famous.
Yeah, and when we say let's make a cow, is we are collecting money, let's say for your birthday, Daniel, and we say let's make a cow. Vamos a hacer una vaca, and this means we are gonna collect. Everybody will put whatever they can contribute with towards one specific end, and we make the cow. Yeah.
And by the way, is this true for all Spanish-speaking South American countries, or is this very typical?
Very, very Colombian. I think if I come up with these expressions to a person from Argentina, example, they would perhaps understand from the context of the conversation, but really, no, this is super Colombian. We say also no dar papaya, so don't give.
And Daniel, you will only get a cow. You're not getting a cow for your birthday. So
yeah, that's a good point.
But we have a saying too with a cow. I'm saying this very often also to my Indian colleagues. How do we get the cow off the ice? Because that's an expression in German, how we are solving the problem. Because if a cow is on the ice, on the lake, very difficult. So we have to move the cow off the ice. So, okay, it's not a similar thing, but we also have some sentences where a cow is very important.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I have to throw in the North American context then. Anyone who's ever watched The Simpsons has heard little Bart say, "Don't have a cow, man." Means, hey, relax, chill out. Everything's going to be okay. Wow. So I guess the cow has importance in all or many, many different cultures.
So everywhere cow is a problem, Daniel.
And of course, I can make a very, hopefully it's okay, this joke. What's the difference between a black and the white cow?
No, I don't know.
No idea.
And the white cow makes moo, and the black cow makes hey man, moo man.
Yeah, we don't say that joke anymore.
No, it's not politically correct.
Why? Come on, it's a slang.
I know.
Every rap song is like this, huh?
It's appropriating a slang that you did not originate. It would be like Another example would be the character Apu in The Simpsons was originally voiced by a white guy. And there has been a lot of conversation around that because he was throwing on a heavy, heavy Indian accent. And why not, from the beginning, have it played by someone who actually has that accent? So there are lots of reasons why we have realized in our modern day that appropriating language, slang, attitudes, behaviors that we did not originate is now we realize how inappropriate it is. Perhaps one of the most obvious ones, and I don't know if this goes all throughout the world, but people used to dress up as Indians with headdresses and feathers. Yeah, not cool. Not cool. Not cool. So
we are going already towards virtual happy hour 11.0.
Exactly. So,
but I think you guys
in Germany we have purple cows. We don't have only black and white cows. We have purple cows.
For real?
No, for chocolate.
real?
Milka.
The Milka.
Okay.
Okay, but I would
did ask as a child what color the cows are to give chocolate milk because I was a child and I was dumb. So,
But what does it then say, monkey in a bonsai?
Okay, yeah, coming back to my slang.
Yes.
So we say more bored than a monkey in a bonsai. I mean, the monkey in the bonsai might have very limited space to move. So this is the expression we use to say we're terribly bored. We cannot move, and I don't know, long meetings that are not interesting, or long flight where you cannot move, or being stuck in the elevator, or in general. But this is very recurrent.
Like most business meetings, you're usually a monkey in a bonsai.
Exactly. We also say un tintico, and by un tintico we mean an American coffee. We don't use the expression American coffee. A tinto is a black, we call it black dark coffee with sugar, and we drink tinticos the whole day. Usually when we offer a tintico to a friend, it's a tinto, but that's something you must know too. We use the diminutive for everything. So it's a tinto, meaning a tintico. We offer a friend or someone we need to talk to a tintico, and this means they really need to talk seriously about something, or they're going to give us moral support, or I guess very similar in Argentina when they have mates together. A tintico is a bonding time. Having a tintico is bonding time. And of course, when we are out of Colombia, ordering the first tintico is very confusing for us because we are here in the U.S. ordering an American coffee. It was for my parents is still a problem ordering his tintico and my mom's tintico in Starbucks. And there's also a very popular expression, and we say "Okay, tusa," which means we are terribly sorry and depressed.
Coffee. Just quickly back to the coffee, because
Yes.
I've been to Colombia couple times, but more to Brazil. So tell me a bit about the difference between Colombian and Brazilian coffee, because Brazilian coffee just knocked me on my tail. So is your coffee more smooth, or is it as strong as the Brazilian coffee?
I have to confess that I've never tasted Brazilian coffee, and I'm not an expert. I just know the origin of Colombian coffee is Arabica. And what makes the Colombian coffee so good is, of course, the soil where it grows. And it's very characteristic of the Colombian coffee that is not bitter. And you can really taste the flavors of the surroundings. So a very fruity, earthy taste. But you got me there. I must try the Brazilian one.
And John,
I still drink Colombian coffee over here in France, so it's good.
But John, have you tried the Brazilian coffee in Brazil, or have you tried the Brazilian coffee outside Brazil? Because there's a big difference.
No, I drank it in Rio when I was working at Varig.
Yeah, but it's not even the best coffee, because the best coffee is for export only in Brazil. So
well, that happens for us too. The best coffee I ever tasted, Colombian coffee, I think it was in France, and I was like, we produce this? like I lived in my country for 26 years, and but tinto was a tinto, right? But it was never as good as the one for, exporting purposes.
So if you go in Gabriella's Brazil presentation, she was mentioning this too, that the best Brazilian coffee is for export only.
For export, yeah, that's true. Okay, and the last comment is the ketusa. This means we're terribly depressed after being crushed by, I don't know, someone leaving us. So this is the expression of someone that is heartbroken. Yeah. So just for you guys to have an idea of, we do use those expressions every day. We use our language in a very exaggerated way, and finding the equivalent here in the US to express ideas is the first thing you struggle with, and really understanding the equivalence in English, right? So that's kind of the first shock. Then let me show you the next slide. What were our first impressions? For this, I asked my friends, what was the most striking things when you arrived in the US? And one was like, hey, here the postal office works. Because in Colombia, this is a mess. We don't trust it. Everything gets stolen. We don't send checks. Like it's really a hazard. When you send something in the post, you don't know if it's going to arrive to the destination. But here it works, and it works properly on time. And you can send things, and things that might be expensive, and they arrive. And so that was a surprise for us. Of course, the quality of life, the accessibility to goods, the diversity. For many of us, it was just the first opportunity where we saw people from different religions. As I mentioned before, we're mainly Catholic. So here you see Muslims walking in the streets with the burqa. This was a surprise for us. We don't have that often in Colombia. Or the Jewish community walking to the synagogue, or like the Sikhs with the turban. We are not exposed to that. So that's also like a good shock, a good surprise. Like you have a taste of the world in the US that you don't have in Colombia. And also the languages. You feel sometimes if you're in New York or certain areas, even here in Miami, you hear a couple of languages spoken at the same time, and you have no exposure to such things in Colombia. Also, the personal space. We in Colombia touch people, we hug people. When we line up for something in the supermarket or the bank, we are very close, and we end up talking to the person in front of us and the one behind. And here it's a shock. Some people might even approach you telling you like keep your distance. We just didn't have that. Also, in Colombia, we fix things when they broke, right? The shoes, if they broke, you have the shoe fixer in the corner, or the clothes. There's someone always fixing things for you, or the electronics. You try to fix things before replacing them. We notice here it's easier just to buy a new thing. And this was a shock because we felt, oh my God, we're like disposing things that are almost new. And we know for sure someone in Colombia would totally fix it and kind of recycle this. Those were our first impressions when we arrived. Good or bad, everyone has their own judgment, but this is what was more striking for me. Then the second thing that was striking also was the education. And in Colombia, the topic about education is more a topic of being the education accessible for you. And sadly enough, the education is accessible. It's more accessible the upper in the class system you are, right? So people in poor classes or lower classes, they have really they struggle to have access to education, like school, high school, and superior education. It has improved, yes, you can see in the graph, but it's really not well balanced. While in the US, it's more a topic of enrollment. Are they going to the local schools? There's public education that covers the population. It's more the topic of the parents, whether they want to send their kids to the public schools of their district or to pay a charter school or a private school, but education is accessible for everybody. That was for me a surprise. I was wondering, why would someone not send their kids to school? That was more the difference. Also, in the US, you see more people having bachelor degrees. Around 30% of the adults have a bachelor degree, which I think could be more. That's my personal opinion, because it's so accessible. In Colombia, only around 20% of adults have a bachelor degree. Then something that is very shocking for me, is it football or football? Right? We grew up with football, and by football we're talking about soccer, and for us, this football is a passion. We might have political differences, class differences, or really people you don't talk to, but every time our selección, so the team of the country plays, we are one country. It's the only thing that is able to unite us as a country, as one country, and we really live this. It's one of the little things not one of the little things, but one of the things we can feel proud of, because there are so many things that we feel ashamed of. So for us, it's a passion, it's a religion.
And I remember this one player who shot the self goal. I think he was murdered because the game was lost. So
that was during that dangerous time where we had not nice people. I mean, we still have not nice people, but the problem was that the Colombian football was very influenced in the background by this cancer that we had in our society, Daniel. And I think that was what caused the death of this guy was not just a passionate fan, but something darker behind, like bets or something, like not was just a spontaneous person wanting to take revenge. That was in the 90s, a very peculiar time of our country. Yeah. And we struggle with understanding the American football laws or like rules. I have people explain this to me every single year, and I cannot feel the passion. I really don't understand it. And I think I talk on behalf of a lot of Colombians living here. We really don't understand why these two big, teams clash, how the dynamic of the game is, when do they score. For us, it's just... perhaps we don't get it. Perhaps you really need to be born here and grow with the culture to really have a feeling for it.
But in South America, after Argentina and Brazil, Colombia is the third best team, isn't it?
I think so. I mean, it fluctuates, but I think we play good soccer. Yes, we play good football. Yeah,
but sometimes you're even beating the Brazilians, huh?
Sometimes we are. They are really, really good. What Colombians have is passion. This is what they have. Sometimes they lack in discipline and commitment, but they do have this passion, and they celebrate in a very festive way. And the way they play is like dancing. Sometimes it's a pleasure when they're playing well. It's a pleasure to see them. Same with the Brazilians. It's very, very similar, because they have the tactics, but also you see them, they enjoy what they're doing. Sometimes it's really not that good, or they are not that efficient. Then the holidays, guys. I'm changing topics. As I mentioned at the beginning, I randomly choose things, and you can, of course, interrupt me. What was a shock for me is that in Colombia, we have a public holiday every week. Okay, it's an exaggeration, but very, very often. We have 19 holidays, 12 of them are Catholic holidays. So every saint has their holiday, and 7 of them are civic holidays. Here in the US, there's more than 10, but only recognize 10 federal holidays. And only Christmas is a religious holiday. So I picked 2 of the holidays that I appreciate the most in each country. I came to appreciate Thanksgiving. We do not have something similar to Thanksgiving in Colombia. And I think it's, regardless of the doubtful origin, there's some stories about it. I think it's beautiful that you get together with your family and friends just to be thankful for things you have in life. And we tend to forget that. And they do have this, and they do it regardless of the religion, political origin. And I think this is beautiful. This we should learn. I really appreciate this holiday. And from Colombia, out of the many public holidays that we have, well, I chose Semana Santa. This is the whole week. Here in the US, they celebrate more Easter, which is like when Jesus resurrected, kind of. But for us, the previous days are more important. And there's a lot of traditions coming from the Catholic Spanish people that conquered us. And they're really emotional. Like, so here in this picture, what I'm showing you is what we call a procession. This is when Christ is dead after he's crucified in the cross, in the what's the name, in the cross. His mom, this is the Virgin, is very, very sad. So she walks around the different towns or even the cities, and people just goes there to support her. And you still see this in the countryside and in very traditional cities, and it's very touching. It's beautiful. Even if you are not that involved in religion, it's a spectacle to see. That I miss here. Let's see, what else do I have? Now, Christmas, guys. It's very similar, but there are some differences. So here, the main guy is Santa Claus, and he's the one bringing the gifts. And in the US, the one that brings the gifts to the kids is baby Jesus, which is also very problematic, because when you start making some or rush, like thinking about it, how is this baby that is just born able to bring gifts to the kids? And this, when you are so innocent and you don't know that he doesn't exist for a couple of years, you really wonder. So Christmas in Colombia starts around the 7th of December.
Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. Having spent most of my life in the US and having raised children and been raised, the children do not believe that baby Jesus brings the gifts. Santa Claus brings the gifts.
Yes, in the US, but in Colombia it's baby Jesus.
Oh, I'm sorry. I get confused. So in Colombia, baby Jesus brings the gifts.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
This is what I was reflecting when I was collecting the pictures and thinking about Christmas time in Colombia and who brings the gifts to the kids. I was thinking, like I do remember for a couple of years, I struggled with the notion, how is this baby that was just born able to really deliver all these gifts? But here, I think it's more believable that there's this old guy with this big bag full of gifts, and that's, traveling with these animals, and that makes more sense for me. So I would have believed that longer. That's what I'm saying. I think I started to question the validity of baby Jesus bringing the gifts very early. My parents struggled with that. But still, both, they received their gifts at the night of the 24th. Usually in Colombia, we open the gifts the same night. I understand here in the US, it's more on the morning on the 25th, but I guess it depends on the tradition of each family. But I wanted to say that Christmas for us officially starts with what we call the Day of the Velitas. It's a festivity, it's a religious festivity, and it's December the 7th, and it's related to the Virgin Mary. And what we do this day is we light a lot of little candles. And this is amazing for kids, of course, a little bit dangerous, but it's an amazing experience. And this is what I remember the most, with my friends and my cousins, and just playing with candles and lighting little lights in my neighborhood. This is for me how it usually started. And then we have another tradition that is called La Novena, where we start praying 9 days before the 24th of December, praying and reading like the story of, the Virgin was pregnant and they were going to Bethlehem, and, the whole story till she gives birth in the, I don't know the word in English, pesebre, the nativity scene. So every day, starting on the 16th of December, ending on the 24th, we get together in someone's house or in the neighborhood where you live. You pray a little bit, then you sing some Christmas carols, and you eat a lot and exchange some Christmas gifts. And this is an opportunity to bond with your friends and your neighbors and the community. This I miss. And this also builds up the emotion to the 24th, because, the end of the novena marks the day where the gifts are going to be received by the baby Jesus. So for a kid, this is an excitement. I miss that here. And we're obsessed with lights. I pictured that I have here underneath the girl that is opening up the gift is the picture of the main river in Medellin. And what we do is we call it el alumbrado. So we install lights all over the city or main areas of the city with or without motives of, or, like references to Christmas. We might be very creative. So what you see here is the river and some Christmas trees, and it changes from year to year. So for us, it's now a tradition when they turn on the alumbrados or the lights to go there and take a walk with the family. There's usually food in the streets and music, and it's just like interacting with these giant structures. It's an amazing thing. It fills you with energy. I miss that too. But here, what I found is that the celebration is a family celebration, that there's usually cold weather involved. If you're lucky, you have the snow. Lucky for us, because we don't have snow, and we always dream about how would a Christmas be with snow and cold weather. But the basic thing is the same, or the values are the same. It's family being together and celebrating the birth of Jesus, right? And what else did I get for you guys? And now the New Year's Eve celebration. So here I found very peculiar differences that I really didn't have in mind. So when I think about the celebration here in the US, I always think about the Big Apple coming down in New York. Here in Miami, we have an orange. So it's a party, we go out, there's fireworks, we celebrate. In Colombia, we do the same, but we also have some peculiar traditions. So to the right, in the upper part of the slide, what you see is what we call an año viejo. This is like a big doll made out of newspapers or things that can be ignited. And you just buy it, and this big doll represents the year that is ending and the bad things about the year that you don't want to happen the following year. So some people put the face of their political adversary. I know this sounds really weird. It's now I see it. When I was researching, I was like, oh my God, we're very crazy. I grew up with that. Some people write down, when they were sick or they had issues at work or relationships, they write down that there. So, when the year ends, they're going to burn that down.
So this year, everybody is putting a coronavirus on top.
Probably, yes. When I was researching, I found a lot of those muñecos, we call it muñecos, with political faces. So a lot of Donald Trumps. There was some with the face of Pablo Escobar, or the faces of local, politicians in Colombia. You can pick, or you can just put a random face and just write down the things that you want to burn and you don't want to happen again. This, of course, you do in the countryside when you have space and you can light up that and there's no one being harmed. It's very, very traditional in the countryside. And then we also have some traditions. The one I posted there below, are the most typical ones. So we usually wear yellow underwear because this brings good luck. And it's true. Like, I remember my mom always had yellow underwear for me and also for the guys in the family, so genderless. We had 12 grapes, either green or the other type of grapes, but 12. And every grape would symbolize a wish. So right at midnight, you would eat them in a hurry. Very dangerous. Just wishing for the things you want to have in the new year. And the ones that want to travel, I was always one of those. You would grab a suitcase and just walk around your house or the block in the neighborhood. And this means that you're going to attract good luck and you're going to travel the following year. And this never failed to me, to be honest. And I tend to do the same everywhere I'm at. This is with me, yes. So those are some traditions that I can share with you guys. I guess if you spend a New Year's Eve in Colombia, you're going to think we are absolutely crazy. But at the end, we're just wishing for good things to happen and bad things to stay in the past.
I think the travel miracle happens only in Colombia, because in 2019, after 2019 for the 2020 New Year, I was actually traveling back from India to Germany. So I was actually traveling, and after that, I never managed to travel back.
You see?
Yeah. So it works only in Colombia.
Yeah, I think it works for us. Yes, it's only for us. It could be international travel. It could be a travel within Colombia. It depends what it means for the person. But usually you'd see people running around the house with a suitcase. Yeah. And this is it, guys. I just wanted to concentrate in the things that I could compare about the traditions that matter to me the most. Things that I found surprising when I moved. As I mentioned, I didn't want to concentrate in political things or hot topics. I just wanted you guys to have a feeling for who I am and, like what was the most surprising thing for me when I moved to the US. And again, for me, it has been an amazing journey. I came to the US thinking I was going to stay here for a couple of years, and I ended up staying, becoming a citizen, and falling in love with all the things that this country can give me. But I feel that I'm like split in two because I'm very Colombian. I miss Colombia every day, my family and our traditions. I guess you guys, the ones that are not living in your native countries, can relate to that. You become like a citizen of nowhere, right? Because you're not really a Colombian anymore. You've changed, but you're really not a 100% American because you still have this baggage that you came with. So that's it, guys. This is what I wanted to talk about. Now, if you have
Thank you very much, Maria. First of all, please stop
Maria.
everybody here in the call. So now the next question: how do you feel now?
Maria, how do I feel?
Yeah. Because I was asking you before the session, how do you feel? You were very nervous. How do you feel now?
I feel relaxed. I was nervous because I didn't know what you guys were expecting when Daniel posted this, Colombia versus the US. And I was like, I don't want to touch sensitive topics. I don't know who's joining.
Of course, now we come to the session of me. Because Manolo, you come from a neighbor country. We learned a lot. So is it totally different then from your country, or you have some similarities with the neighbor country?
Very similar, almost the same.
Where are you from, Manolo? I think we've never.
Venezuela.
Ah, claro. Yeah, no, we're brothers and sisters, Daniel.
Yeah. Yeah, the only difference with me is that after working on Savor, and probably John will relate to this, once you start traveling in Savor, you never stop. I used to do the back thing too. And, you never stop traveling until this year. So.
And Maria, how often are you going back to Colombia? How are you visiting very often your country?
Yes, I mean, this year, it's been a year already, because my plan was to go in May and then to go in November, and but usually at least three times a year.
And you have really in Miami now a small Colombian community where you are all meeting together. You go in Colombian restaurants, and so you try to live your country within the USA.
Yes, we try to do so. Yeah, because sometimes you just as easy because you don't need to have some background explanations with you when you use your slang, or it's easier to connect at a certain level with other Colombians. But we don't go to Colombian restaurants, Daniel. They are not good.
Yeah, but that's exactly the thing, because I remember Anucha was speaking about the food she is missing from India. And I just know my wife, when we were both in US, and USA is not really haute cuisine, so that's really big portions, but difficult. So is it maybe the most difficult part for you, that the food in the US is not like you are maybe knowing it from Colombia? That you are to home cook, or you go to friends than trying to go in a restaurant?
When we want to eat Colombian food, we usually cook it. We prepare it. I mean, there's good restaurants, but it's usually not what we are used to. We do it ourselves. It's the recipes that we inherited from our families. So it's also the preparation of the food is a ritual, right? So I prefer to cook. But it's not that good, Daniel. And I do miss the Colombian food, not the specific preparations, but how good are the ingredients. My whole digestion changed when I moved to the US. There's so many things. Here you have to be more, you have to think about the origin of the things you want to buy, where you want to buy them. This might be more expensive. In Colombia, it's easier to have good quality everywhere.
And I can tell you, I'm a big fan of Colombia. I was there several times, always Bogota. And I remember, I think the very first time was 2004 or 2005. I don't know, when was the bombing in Madrid? Was it 4 or 5?
In Atocha, I don't know. I don't remember.
Because
I was still in Colombia, so it must have been around that time.
I was scheduled, at that time I was in the cargo industry. So I was having a meeting with the local cargo handling agent. And I was telling everybody, I go to Bogota. And of course, the European perception, danger area, how can you go there, blah, blah, blah. I said, no problem. So I went there. And exactly when I was there in the hotel, there was this bombing in Madrid. When I was saying before my trip, I go to Spain, Madrid, Madrid, blah, blah. Everybody would say amazing. So you can see and I was feeling very, very secure in Bogota, because always these security checks and another car, and when you went in the mall and so on. And I was also totally amazed from the hospitality of the people, but also this pride of being Colombian. And especially for me, in Germany, people are not very proud to be German and so on. We are kind of brainwashed and we don't show that and so on. And I think that's a very important part of a group, to be proud of something. And then also going with local people in the restaurants and so on. And some years later, that was also interesting. I got a special training from the Lufthansa security entity, and they were, if you go on a trip to Bogota, you have to say, I read all these security advices, and it was said, never go to a politic rally, never go where other
where more people are together.
My former colleague, she was friend to the candidate of the mayorship for Bogota, and I was then standing in the center of a political stage, and there was the crowd, and so it was fun. So I always made very good experience. I was also learning a lot about the flower industry. A lot of roses are transported to Europe and all that stuff. So I'm really amazed from Colombia. I'm a big fan, and that's why I'm very glad that you made this presentation, that I could convince you to do it. And I think we learned a lot about Colombia and the USA today.
Yeah, no, thank you, Daniel, to give me the opportunity. It was fun to prepare. And you're very right. We are very proud, and this is actually something we have in common with the Americans. They're very proud to be Americans. And we are very proud to be Colombians too, and we want to show people the good things we can do, because we do not deny that we have very bad things and very bad people and bad history, like everybody else. But we want to just show the other side of the coin. Like, this is the expression we use in Colombia, right? And it's good that you recognize that. When you go there, people would be really, really happy to show you the country, even if they don't understand what you're saying, if they don't speak English fluently. They would really welcome you and show you the best, or their best. Of course, there's risks if you go to dangerous areas, like in every city of the world. But
absolutely.
But yeah, we're very proud, and we have a lot of good things and good people, and like making industry, but what I'm trying to say is contributing to the local economy, creating job opportunities for the locals, trying to push the country. Is difficult, but there's a lot of good people there working quietly, silently, right? And it's nice to see.
From which city in Colombia?
I am from Medellin.
Because Because I'm always getting exactly messages like the most beautiful women from Colombia come either from Cartagena or from Medellin. So what would you say?
Look at me. Look at me.
It's obvious, Daniel. It's obvious, Daniel.
I'm just learning.
I think I shouldn't say this, but to be honest, when I moved to the US, I thought people were not as pretty as us. In general, in average, I do think we have pretty women.
Yeah.
But it's not like I'm a woman and I want you to, to say
But
so
I
to
think
me. It's really.
Miss Universe is also from Colombia several times.
I don't remember, but we do have pretty women. It's like the Brazilians. They are really attractive too, and guys are very handsome. In Colombia, I think there's beautiful people too. I think women tend to be more beautiful than men. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I think it's an.
Maria, are you in Miami?
I'm in Miami, John. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So yeah, I do think we have an interesting mix. I think this contributes to that, right? We got good things from all the different races that we were mixed with. Yeah.
So Manolo, hello.
Hello.
Hello, my friend. Hello,
How
my
are
friend.
you?
How are you?
Good. Nice to see you.
Manolo is quiet because he knows their women are more beautiful than ours. Venezuelans are pretty.
All that is artificial.
Yes. But I was going to ask Manolo because I only was in Colombia a couple times with Antonio Diaz. So I never spent a lot of time there. So, did we lose Manolo?
No, I'm here. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So, and again, I think I only dealt with Venezuela over the phone. But what's Antonio doing these days?
Well, Antonio, it's crazy. He left Sabre. He went to Radix, and then with the acquisition of Sabre, now he's back in Sabre.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Antonio Diaz, Maria. Antonio Diaz was our account director for Colombia. So when I went to Colombia, I only dealt with Antonio, and very good guy. It's unfortunate that he left Sabre and got stuck back at Sabre, but it's okay.
I see.
Yes, he always took care of us in Colombia. Actually, we had the opportunity to go to Medellin once, but not the city, only the airport. Because
it's a nice area. It's the countryside. I mean, it's now very developed, but it's has a better climate because it's up in the mountains or higher. It's a nice area.
They have the flowers and, more importantly, bandeja paisa, which is fat-free.
So Manola, isn't Ana Maria from Medellin?
Yes, actually, she lives in Rio Negro, which is where the airport is, and she has a beautiful house there. You can see like all the valley, because the airport is on the top, right? And it has a valley over there. It's beautiful where she lives. Yeah, she's from Medellin, but she moved to. It's literally like 5 minutes from the airport. Yeah.
Okay.
So do you have some more questions to Maria? It's a unique opportunity for you to ask questions to a US-based Colombian, one of the most beautiful women on earth. That's the problem, I'm inspired from our women's panel today, and now I see that the men are pretty much shy. They are not daring to ask the real questions. So come on, guys, we are entre nous.
Okay, so you're in Miami.
Yes.
Miami. So do you know our partner or my former partner company, Evermundo, with Seth Cassell and Diego?
No. What is the name of the company?
Evermundo.
No, I'm not familiar.
That's a very good company, and it's based in Miami. They were very good partners of mine, both personally and at Sabre. So yes, you should look them up.
I will.
They're very good.
I will. I'm taking notes.
So Maria, just quick question, because I was in an article. So your background is in technology or maintenance, or?
I work with Lufthansa Technic, Manolo, and I work in the corporate sales division here in Miami. But I started with them 10 years ago with the component division in the fulfillment area. So yeah. My background what I studied in Colombia is chemical engineering.
Cool.
When I came to the US, I started again. I missed. Now I know when we're talking, I should complete that presentation with so many details. But I came with my ex-husband, and I was in a companion visa. And when it was time for me to find a job, this was a good opportunity out of my industry and comfort zone, but it was a good opportunity in the middle of the crisis, that economical crisis in 2008-9, and so I joined them and I stayed. Yeah.
So guys, I have now two other 3.5 candidates. Manolo, you could make USA versus Venezuela, and John, you could do France versus USA, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think John would be more interesting because the US, Venezuela, probably similar to Colombia.
Maria?
France versus USA, because I was reading a book, I think it was The Cultural Code, where it was described what's the difference between a French using makeup and the US lady taking makeup, and what is advertisement in the US, which is primarily say weapons and brutality, whereas in French it's about love and stuff. And so that would be quite interesting, because I think there are two big poles. So maybe France versus USA could be something for the upcoming weeks.
Yeah, give me a few weeks to get in that after the election, Daniel. We're going to
It's
very interesting too.
We're going to relax a little
Maybe
bit.
we can also kick off Virtual Happy Hour 11.0 politics talk. That would be fantastic.
Yeah. It was difficult for me to stay away from politics, I have to confess.
Well, yeah, but on the other hand, I think we know each other meanwhile, and it's very simple. We can freely talk about everything. So.
But when I left Colombia, the first time I left Colombia, I was still living with my parents, and I went to Paris for 6 months. And I remember my dad saying, "Maria, never speak about politics or religion in public, because you never know where you're gonna find, and you might lose some friends or potential friends." And I think he was right.
Yeah, but that's something I'm educated from my parents that it's always important to express your opinion, and
yes,
of course it's also a power of accepting somebody's different opinion, but still being able to argue and not just fight and so on. And that's something, and I like this very much, because I don't have to agree with everybody, and not everybody needs to agree with me. But when I have a conversation, it can be also very controversial, like my very bad joke I made about the car. Yeah? So that's, but it's okay. It's people can criticize, and because avoiding something, this cancel culture and so on, I don't know whether this is really helpful. We need to have also some conflicts. Better we have verbal conflicts than we have conflicts with weapons. So that's why I think discussing and arguing and even if it's heating up, it's better because and maybe you're sleeping over and then after you wake up you realize, oh yeah, okay, it was not so bad and blah blah blah. It's an evolution, and I think that's diplomacy and that's how we all get connected worldwide. But when we are stopping to talk about things, I think that's the beginning of the end. And that's
but
why
Daniel, I agree with you. Let me interrupt you. I totally agree with you. The problem is you need to have a safe environment to speak about things, or at least to be sure that the person you're talking with you, even if that's talking with you or having the conversation with you, even if it's not the same, if he doesn't or she doesn't have the same opinions, is a respectful person. But you need to know that beforehand. And sometimes you don't know the emotional state of the person. You don't know if what you're going to say might be indirectly attacking the person because they live through bad experiences that you cannot even recognize. So I'm very careful. And of course, I do find value in discussing. This is the best thing that could happen to us as society, have open discussions about topics, but, in a moderated kind of environment where people are emotionally stable.
That's the good thing of the virtual happy hour because we all share 4 major criteria in common. We are all smart, upbeat, positive, and enthusiastic. So it's limiting already the risk of people are freaking out and so on. And I cannot say that there's one person in this virtual happy hour circle which was totally crazy. So that's why I think, especially this group, people are open-minded. Not everybody shares the same opinion, but I would say
Daniel, Manolo might be a little crazy because he has a flip chart behind him.
Flip charts are awesome.
You always have to capture from the rule.
He's the crazy one.
I want to say that, best example, Maria, is Daniel and myself, right? We were competitors. And we are friends. So, so we used to see each other on, in the trade shows and things like that. And his products have very good things. My products have some good things, but we discuss and we teach each other, but we never, did something crazy.
but Maria, there's a problem today is that if you, let's say we put this now in YouTube and somebody is then starting a shitstorm. That's always the risk in our life today. But on the other hand, I think if you get the feedback from the majority of the group, I think, let's say, if there are 100 people who like what we said and there are 10 people who are not liking it, I think you can never ever make everybody happy. So that's why you should always know, okay, these are the important opinions and so on. And I think that's why I always appreciate if there's an open conversation, because it's always the possibility of an evolution and also an improvement for the future. And if people are not talking with each other anymore, that's very often a very sad beginning of something worse.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, I was going to say, and probably John can relate to this because he's seeing it a lot, and we have seen people. I think part of the problem we see in the US today with the current environment is that I don't think that conversation might happen a lot because people is taking these positions and they don't want to kind of even talk, in the middle. So it's like, either it's my way or the highway, right? So I don't think, I agree with Maria. There is some way that we need to create this environment where people can have these conversations. But in the US, you can even see it as people kind of interact, right, with each other, like on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and things like that. It's very aggressive, and I don't think it should get that aggressive, but it is happening, right? Because it's a lot of, I don't think people wants to understand each other, right? They have strong views.
But the problem were discussing this in one of the virtual happy hours in the past. You have only, say, two main parties. So it's pest or cholera. In other countries, you have at least a third and the fourth and the fifth option, which is maybe in between of the two and so on. So that's maybe my explanation why there is a radicalization in the one or the other. So compromise is very difficult because if you only have two options, usually you know this better than me, in sales, you should always give three options because people don't like only having two options. So that's why if you have a third one, it's already better. And you don't have a third option in the USA. And that's maybe part of the problem.
But you know what? What is happening here in the US is happening in Colombia as well. And we are, for the first time in many, many years, I would say, very polarized. Is that way or the other? And I see that in my own family, like my dad and myself. We're four, right? Dad, mom, and two children, my brother and I. My brother and my mom, they're more like strong in their opinions and more towards not extreme right, but you know, like more conservative when it comes to politics. And my dad and I are more like, you know, like in the middle, let's see both sides. And the discussions that we have had, it's the family, we love each other, are ridiculous. So now I refrain from expressing anything because, like, how could this happen? That even your house is not a safe environment anymore because it feels like your opinion is a direct attack to the others. Now I understand, for example, that when my brother and my mom behave like that, it's just they're really worried and very anxious, and they tend to just project their anxiety and their worriness to you. So you have to be the better person in the conversation and try to refrain. Or maybe they have the same with me when I'm passionate about. But if this happens with the family, I'm always scared what's going to happen in the public, you know, with other people.
Yeah.
So Daniel. As a long, I think I'm the longest term American on this particular one. I would stay totally away from American politics. It's a two-party system. It's funded by billionaires who pump so much money into the thing that you can't influence it. So I would like totally stay away from anything around that because there's no rational argument about it. So it's again, it's terrible living in France where we have 10 parties that can, you know, compete possibly to be in the race. It's fine, but in the US, there's two parties. It's not going to change. Hasn't changed for 100 years, and billionaires fund the fact that it's not going to change. So, yeah, to even discuss politics about the U.S. is, to me, it's a waste of precious moments of our life.
Yeah, that's true. That's why the Romans said games and brats and brat and games, and I think that's exactly what it is because you have NFL, NBA, NHL, and so on, and that's the entertainment for the masses. And then behind the scenes, some lobby groups are doing the big thing. It's like this, and we have in Germany similar things, but maybe it's not that drastic and so on. But yeah, but I have to admit that was a fantastic virtual happy hour 3.5. Maria, I hope you liked it and you didn't feel too much pressure to do it, but amazing. So. That was fantastic.
I'm glad you guys were able to see a little bit of my personality and my personal experiences. Yeah, thanks for participating and paying attention and asking questions.
Thank you, Maria. It was fantastic.
Bye, Maria.
Manolo, good to see you.
Happy hours.
Me too, man. Say hi to Annika.
So please stay healthy and safe and have a good evening. Thank you.
Manolo, Annika,
Thank you.
Say hi. Say hi to her too.